Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Why presented by All American Roof Pros and All American Heart Studios. Today I'm sitting down with someone that I haven't known for a long time, but I can say I know pretty well at this point. She spent the last weekend, 2 or 3 days with us at our retreat, so we're excited to have her on and hear her story. And that is Miss Kelly. Am I saying your last Densel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Densel, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, excited to have you on, Kelly. At the beginning of an episode, I always like to tell people, just kind of give me your elevator pitch. Like if I'm meeting, you're in the sales world, so you should be great at this.
You know what? I really am not. I took on the sales position. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but I took on the sales position as an extra. I've never done sales in my life, so it's pretty interesting. But anyway, my quick elevator pitch is I have a lot of life experience, right? I am a mom first and foremost, and a grandma then. And I love it, and I'm very, very passionate about anything I do. That is life, that is children, grandchildren, that is work. I am a very passionate person, and it comes out a lot.
I love it. I can hear the passion in your voice and the pride that you have for your kids. How old are they?
34, 31, and my grandson will be 7 on April 18th.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So just the one
Boys,
grandson?
I'm a boy mom.
Yeah, and boy grandma and the whole bit.
They're all boys, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just the one grandson. Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have to maybe younger moms when raising boys?
Oh, let them be boys. There are too many people, right, that don't want them to get dirty and want them to be polished and want them to be good little soldiers. And I don't. Like, go climb, go break a foot, do whatever you got to do. It's amazing and it's fun and listen. There are things that I would have never done had I not had boys. There are things that I would have never read or listened to if I were not engaged. I'll give you, it's a simple example. Harry Potter came out, right?
Okay.
My son was the same age as Harry Potter. Everything was perfect. And he wanted to read this book, and I thought, well, no, because I don't really know what it is. So we read it together, the whole entire series. So, and still to this day at their ages, if my youngest lives in California, my other one lives in Ohio, if they say they're reading a book, I will buy the book and I read it, because that starts conversation.
Absolutely.
Right? If they're talking about something, I want to know about it. If they play something, I want to understand it. And it's a blessing.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool concept. I think that's the first time I've heard that before, but it's the first time I've had somebody put it in reference like that. And yeah, if you know exactly what's going on with your kids, then the world can't get in.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Because that's something Tori and I are struggling with Lane. I mean, she's not old enough to matter, right? As far as that, she matters to me. She's my world. But we have some younger girls who hang out with us quite a bit. And they're 13 and 10. And I see the way that they're so plugged into their phones and just like, it's scary. It scares the pants off of me how scary it is the way the world can just claw their way into these. It's not even just little girls, little kids' lives.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a good point, though. Like, if they're going to read something, I'm going to read it.
Yeah, I think with my grandson, I see my son handling him. He has specific time that he can do screen time.
Yep.
He likes to read, so they read. It's really engaging them. He builds Legos. He's been building Legos since he was two or three. We built Legos all our life. I wouldn't have picked up a Lego if I had a girl. In all fairness, each time that I was pregnant, I prayed that I would not have a girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, please give me boys. I will not know how to handle a girl. I won't. And it was fun. One experience I have with my youngest, when we were at a softball tournament with my brother, the one mom was like, don't get down there, there's dirt, he's gonna slip, he's gonna get whatever. And I'm like, yeah, get down there, go have fun, skid on the thing. Of course he did, and he fell and he got a stone in his lip. He has a scar from it to today. My sister-in-law came over, plucked it out, and he went back and played. I'm like, there you go. You know what I mean? It's let them be.
Yeah.
Let them be.
Well, that's for all kids, I think, right? I think that too often we want to put our kids in a bubble and just protect them, and we don't want to inconvenience our own lives if we're being entirely honest with ourselves as parents, right? Instead of just saying, hey, like we did a dog shelter park roof this past summer, and I brought Lainey down, and her cousins are there, and Josh, Brandon's son, he's a couple years older than she is, and they were over playing in the dirt with drills, and I have a picture of her on my phone, but she was just covered in dirt. And it's funny because I sent a picture to my wife, and there's a lot of people in the world that they would have sent a picture of their wife. What are you doing?
Yeah.
My wife's like, great, I'm glad she had a fun day. Like, it's just to us.
They wash.
Yeah, exactly.
They wash.
Was it fun to go home and bath her? And then of course she took a nap, and was it fun to go home and give her a bath the second I got home? No, not entirely, but you know what? She had fun.
Yeah.
And she was over there eating dirt, and my kid's a farm kid, so like I'm good in that department for the most part. Right? Yeah. She's gonna take her lumps, but there's a lot of folks nowadays who just I see it happening a lot with, you said the screen time thing with your grandson. And there's too many parents that expect that to just be the babysitter of their kids.
You see it all the time in a restaurant. It drives me insane. They take, when he was younger, and even every now and then if we're going to be at a long dinner, they will take things for him to use his imagination with. Like, he loves the superheroes and the Marvels, and they will take him, their little action figures, and he'll go and we'll play with them at the table.
Yes.
That's interaction instead of, here's your food, here's the table, watch the whatever video you're watching.
Watch Bluey or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And like for me, I remember when I would fly a lot before I had kids, like I'd hear a baby crying on a plane, and I wouldn't say I was like upset about. Now I'm like, that baby can't help it. That person who's with that baby can't help it. And I think the same can be said about restaurants. Like people, I just want my kids to behave. If I'm at Texas Roadhouse and my kid decides to be a little loud, it's Texas Roadhouse. I didn't go to freaking, you know what I mean? I'm not at Delmonico's. Like, and even if I was, I wouldn't care. I'm paying the same amount for that child to sit there. So like, I think as parents, we got to get out of our own way and stop worrying about what other people think about.
We do. I didn't worry about what other parents thought. I did overprotect my kids when it came to certain things.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have a lot of history and a lot of past, and I vowed that I would protect my kids and that it would not happen to them, right? So my kids probably never spent the night anywhere. I think my oldest was 15, and so he was like, I'm going to go down the street, and I'm like, but I let it, you know, and so there is a fine line of letting them do, letting them be, and protecting them. That's the hard part.
Yeah, so on your sheet, and even with our discussions this weekend, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I think that something that I've been like just wrestling with is like my traumas made me who I am.
Yes.
And I wouldn't change anything about me, right? And the same goes for my wife and really all of us. But when it comes to our kids, and we got to find this balance, right? Because I follow a guy, and he's like, I want my kids to be traumatized enough for me to want to hang out with them. I want them to be funny. I'm like, I kind of get that. Like, I don't want boring kids, but it's and my trauma response is laughter. It always has been. I don't know why. It's terrible, but that's where I'm like kind of in a struggle, right? Because I want them to go through that, right?
And you don't.
Yeah.
You do and you don't.
Yeah, because you want to protect them. You want them to be better.
Yeah, what for me, it was about communication, right? It wasn't about necessarily having them go through the trauma, but to understand and have that empathy to see when people go through the trauma. Like, I wanted them to fall and maybe break a foot because that's fun stuff. But as far as the trauma goes of, facing hardships in life, you can teach them. So the perfect example I have is my kids were, I don't know how old they were, but anyway, they're 4 years apart really, because Kyle will be 35 in July, and Brandon just turned 31. So they're 4 years apart. We used to sit at a very young age. Now, you probably don't even know this. It used to be like a cop show on Cops. I believe it was Cops and another show.
Like the Bad Boys?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
Okay.
So we would sit and watch it at a very young age. And they would ask questions like, what do they mean by cocaine? Or what do they mean? We'd have the conversation. Sometimes teaching them about the trauma is enough. They don't need to go through it. So I taught them a lot. I taught them, yeah, you can do cocaine, go ahead and do it, but your heart may stop and you may not. It's all about the teaching process.
That's good.
Where we do want them to go to learn about the trauma. I don't want them to go through it.
Yes.
But they have the empathy to understand that people don't always have the finances or do have the drug addictions or do have the alcoholism, and them understanding that and being compassionate because you talked through it.
Yeah.
You don't ignore it. Like we didn't have nicknames for private parts.
That's
you know what I mean?
That I think that my aunt. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
That is a massive topic for parents because when you talk about that in particular, it can get. I'll back this up. When I was young, my aunt used the literal name, and I came running out, and my mom thought it was disgusting. That was her brain and how that worked, right? So, as a child, I was like, yeah, no, we use these pet names or nicknames or whatever you want to call them, and it makes sense. Now that I have kids, my wife and I have gone into detail on this, like, really, really deep, and I've studied a lot. Like, I think it's just the season of life I'm in. I'm in this fatherhood stage. I want the best for my kids, and I'm an all-in kind of guy. But if you give it a nickname and something happens, and they tell someone that's not you, that doesn't know what that nickname is,
they're going to dismiss it.
Yeah. It will be written off. And for children, and I know you do have a little bit of a psychology background, right?
I have my psychology and sociology degree.
Okay. So I have my pseudo-psychology. I've just studied enough that I dive into it and I take a hold of it. And I've said it a ton on here, but like, I had a Navy SEAL tell me this one. This is my credible source. But he does unboxing of trauma. They do microdose of DMT and then they go in and unbox your trauma.
Oh.
And he found that through his study, what happens is we develop who we are as a person between the ages of 6 and 11. And everything we are pretty much going to be for the rest of our lives, within reason.
Right.
Like our big milestones, though, are developed between 6 and 11. So if we if we reverse engineer that entire concept of giving it a pet name and then not getting the trigger right and not handling it in that moment, that child now will have an unhealthy sexual relationship.
100%.
And we don't think about it on that level because it's not. Once again, it's a comfort thing for parents. It's uncomfortable for me to use the literal term, right? And
it still is today?
No. I'm saying in general,
gotcha.
right? It's uncomfortable because it's weird for me to say that to my child, but it's a medical term, and everyone knows what that term means.
Yeah.
So if they tell their daycare provider, this happened, grandpa touched this, or I'm just giving a really vague scenario, they know exactly what's going on instead of a nickname. Because a lot of times we'll use like monkey or something, right? And, oh yeah, grandpa touched your monkey, good job. Like, the kid's getting positive affirmation in that and thinks it's a healthy habit.
Grandpa was paying attention, or whoever was paying attention.
Yes, I'm so glad he was playing with you. And like, to that person, and here's the really messed up part, that person doesn't even know that they're planting those seeds.
Right.
And if they find out about it, like, they're going to live with that guilt too. You have to look at the full circle. We don't think about things that way.
Yeah, I've always done that. From the moment they were born, I've never thought about. And we had nicknames because that's back in our generation. That was taboo. You can't talk about sex. You can't talk about the body parts. You can't. I just swore I would never do that. I think it's because of the trauma that I've been through that I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And I think it even for my brother, I think it shocked him at one point, but then he started communicating with his daughter the same way. So it's powerful. It's a powerful tool to use the right words.
It is. Yeah, and on top of, like, to run back just a little bit, when you said, like, the imagination and stuff, like, I think as parents on the psychological, like, we're learning, my wife and I are learning this stuff as we go, right? I was the oldest of 11 grandkids and 5 kids on between both my parents. So I grew up with babies. She's the middle child, and she doesn't really remember her brother growing up. So, but on top of that, like, we never really involved in the baby part, like the developmental part, right? But like when you talked about your grandson, we found that when we talk to our daughter, not in baby talk, she's done so much. Like she is ahead with all of her speech. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And as parents, once again, like I don't even know if that's one that we're like on the easy route. It's just like it's more fun. Oh, goo goo gaga, you know, that whole thing. But like,
it's cute.
Yeah, it is. It is. But also too, and not saying a child will just be behind, but they learn. I guess what I'm going with is they learn so much more at a younger age than we give them credit for.
Yeah, Asher is. He is in first grade. He is on a third grade communication and reading level. Because, and I did the same thing with my kids, there was never baby talk. Like, we don't talk baby talk. Let's use our words, because if you don't use your words, it goes back to the misconception that you're giving everybody else as well, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, we use our words.
Yeah, like with Lainey, I was telling you about our affirmations that we do with her this weekend, and she won't say the I am, so sometimes we'll catch ourselves saying, like, I strong, and like, but she's not even 2 yet. Right. So, like, I'm not really, but there is power in our words, and the fact that, you know, your son is teaching your grandson that, it's so powerful to just tell them, you know, go back to the communication thing. Like, I'm not saying that they have to know all of the world or all of your problems, but if they can understand, that makes perfect sense to me now. If they can understand the who, what, and why as to why we do things, you know, like I said, the phone's been a hot topic in our house. My daughter's not even close to having one. Even before we really went down some rabbit holes. But like, I have studied some people who have done contracts with their kids, and they will sign a contract. And it sounds crazy because you're making a 10 or 11-year-old sign a contract, but my daughter's going to be in the my wife's in the horse industry. My daughter will be involved in horses. There will come a time when we're at a horse show and she wants to go walk around with her friends, and I will want her to have a phone to call dad to let me know when something's going sideways or she needs help. She will sign a contract when that time comes. It may be a flip phone. I don't even know if they're going to make them in 10 years.
Right? They are going back to making flip phones, to be honest.
Yeah. I'll go freaking buy one on eBay, you know, but either way, that, you know, you don't text anybody but mom and dad and approved friends and family. That's it. And I will go through your phone. You know, the contract will be super simple, and there will be consequences just like with any other contract. If you fail to meet this is what the ramifications will be. They can understand that stuff. And honestly, I think it's a good business lesson.
The important part is the consequence.
Yes.
Most parents don't follow through.
No, they don't.
They feel bad because, in truth, if you think about it, if you have a conversation with your child and their feelings are hurt, you hurt just as much as they do. So consequences are important, and we back off of the consequence because we feel so bad, and that's not always a good thing.
And I also would think too, we put it on ourselves that we failed, right?
Yes.
As the leader, we went, oh, we failed, so we almost don't. It's kind of twofold, really, if we think about it. Like, we're also like, oh, we screwed up, so me punishing them is my affirmation to myself that I screwed up.
We're making them better people.
But we forget that part.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
And but once again, it's parenting is not easy. No one will tell you it is. It's like I tell everybody when our daughter came home, my mother-in-law was like, didn't they show you this, and this at the hospital? I'm like, they don't show you. I don't know how long it's been since you've had a kid.
There was one point I can tell you that I got really frustrated with my boys. I sat them on, I can remember it as if it was yesterday. I sat them on I said, get downstairs and go sit at the fireplace. There was like a little edge of the fireplace. And I sat them down and I looked at them and I said, listen, you did not come with a book. You didn't.
No.
There was no book attached to your behind, so get that you're both different. And get that I'm trying. And you may think that they were not old. They were, like I said, 4 years apart. So maybe 8 and 4 or 9 and 5. And I said, so we're all learning here together.
Absolutely.
You don't have a book. I don't have a manual of your personality, and I don't have a manual of your personality. And they have two completely different personalities.
Yeah, and it also, when you have that moment, it also like kind of makes you look back at your parents and go, they didn't have a book either.
No, it's a big eye-opener.
Yeah, and like when we talk about breaking generational curses, like it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to not want to fall back into what you saw and through those developmental years, right? So it allows you to give grace and forgiveness even if you don't want to, and it's really kind of like we talked about this weekend. It's more for me than it is for them in those moments, right?
Yeah.
When I do those things. And even for our kids, when we want to forgive them for something, like we're really doing it for ourselves to say, hey, you know what, I screwed up a little bit, but I'm here to hold you down to the consequences, and we're going to work through this together. And you know, as I'm sure when your boys were teenagers, they thought you were against them, and they forgot, you know, you guys were on the same damn team.
So interesting enough, I didn't really have any conflict with the boys.
No.
No, I mean, Brandon the youngest, he definitely gave me some challenges. It was communication, like we've all talked it through. I remember having my oldest where I would say, hey, you're now 16, can you drive down and get me some hamburger rolls? He said no, and I walked down the steps, and I turned around and walked back up. I said, did you just tell me no? And he said, yeah, and I said, here's the keys, go get the rolls, but I was going to let him say no.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest conflict we had. Like, for what I think it goes down to, they felt comfortable enough, they continued to communicate the things that normal people don't communicate, and if you do that, they're comfortable enough to have that. Boy, my boys can debate now. They have an opinion because I allowed them to have their voice, which I didn't feel like I had when I was younger, and I always said they will always have a voice.
Would you say there was anything that you overcompensated in from your child? So, like, I'll give an example. My mom grew up pretty poor. She's been on the podcast. And we didn't grow up with a lot of money. Mm-hmm. That's actually, like, something looking back. Like, we never went without, but we didn't have, you know, a lot. But also at the same time, too, my mother would stretch herself extremely thin to make a big deal out of things that really looking back, like, I appreciate them, but they weren't big deal. Like, to me, time is the most valuable asset to me now, right?
100%.
But would you say that there's anything, because it sounds like, I don't want to get any deeper than you want to get in the childhood stuff, but was there anything you found yourself overcompensating in that, you know, maybe you had to pull back on that you're like, oh, why am I doing, like, you know, or anything like that?
I definitely overcompensate. I still overcompensate. I will give the coat off my back before, and to my kids especially. So I overcompensate there. I don't think I don't know that you can overcompensate love, but they know they're loved, right? And the reason I say that is if they will leave my house to go somewhere and they don't say I love you to this day, I'll say, excuse me, I love you. Because you never know, right?
Yeah.
So probably because I didn't hear it a whole lot when I was younger, I overcompensate to make sure they are feeling loved. I felt loved, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there were some periods in my life where I felt very lost.
Or lonely.
Yes, 100%. So I always make sure they don't feel that.
Yeah.
So I overcompensate there.
Which isn't a negative.
No. I don't know about a negative. I don't think I've overcompensated. Well, that's not even true.
They had a reverse reaction to what you thought.
Yeah,
it was gonna be.
I would say I overcompensated with the fact they weren't allowed to go spend the night at their friend's house, and I feel like they missed on that. When they went to college, that was hard. I knew they were grown; they had to go do it, but it was the protector in me, because I felt like their protector.
Yeah.
That probably overcompensated and said, yeah, you're not going to go to that, and you can't go to a birthday party because I don't know those parents. So that probably was a negative. They probably should have been able to do more than they were allowed to do.
But it sounds like, I mean, you know, because when I found this out about myself and my parents, because they both work here, you met them both.
Yeah.
And like you said, I thought I had a good childhood, but I realized, like, for me, it was more so of like, love is an action, not a thing, is what I started to realize. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes my parents were just trying to buy love with things. They also divorced when I was super young.
Oh, okay.
Like when I was 4. So Brandon and I were pawns a lot. And it wasn't intentional. They were both...
They just didn't know.
My parents were 20 when they had me. Like, they were still kids. Like, I was 28. My wife was 20... I'm going to screw that up. She was 25 when we had Lainey. And so for us, we were pretty well grown, both, you know, full brain development.
Mature.
Yeah. The maturity was there a lot more. And we also have a very healthy marriage, which they didn't. They got pregnant. I was at the wedding. And, you know, it was probably I feel like I have to do this thing more than it was You know,
Because back in the day when you got pregnant, you were supposed to get married.
correct. And my mom didn't want to be fat in her wedding dress, hence why you can hear me crying in the wedding video. But I realized that um, I had to forgive them. And once I was able to do that, it was like a weight was lifted off of me, right? And it wasn't. So I guess what I'm saying is I think your boys, if they haven't already, and it sounds like your communication's great, they forgive you for that. They understand.
They do.
You know, and once you look at things in retrospect, like we all have a story, and they all suck, and some suck more, but either way, we all have not fun parts of the book.
Yes.
Right? And so I guess that's where I was kind of going with that, and I'd be interested. Like for me, I love psychology for some reason.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's actually it plays great in the sales, in my opinion. It really does. But I just love the study of it and understanding like how our brains work, why our brains work, you know, what develops us into who we are, how we change habits, and that. I would love to like even just for you to study, you know, your boys and then their kids and just see if there's any repetitive cycles or you know, like I'd almost like to do it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I breaking any cycles inside of my kids, or am I doing the exact same thing? Like, am I staying status quo? Have I just continued the same generational crap that we've dealt with for generations? Because, you know, I love my grandparents, but my grandfather was raised in a boys' home because they were poor during post-Great Depression and they just never had any money. And he grew up a very tough life, which he then dealt with a lot of mental stuff on the back end, which my mom then got passed to her because we pass our burdens. We innately want to pass our burdens to other people, and we do it sometimes unintentionally. And he was an alcoholic for a lot of years. And so I'm always like, don't get me wrong, I like to drink. I'm a very social drinker. But I'm always conscious of that. Like, okay.
Yeah, you don't want to be that.
This can't be a problem.
Right.
And I do believe there is some genetic play there. Too. I think there are some people that are just genetically or mentally hardwired that feels good to them.
So I can share that. I do think my boys have both broke some generational things that happened. So my biological father, I've told you in the weekend, I had two dads, right?
Yes.
My biological dad passed away when I was 10 years old. Very harsh reality for me. I saw him die. So there's a thing, like the autopsy says he killed himself, and if this is getting too deep, you can cut it, but the autopsy says he killed himself. I watched it, I sat on the steps, I saw it happen, my stepmom was next to him. It's very cloudy, like I've tried for years to figure that out, right? What I do know that is in my biological side of the family, they were alcoholics, and he drank, right? He drank a lot, and I didn't know that because I was a daddy's girl. We did everything together, everything. And when that happened, I went through a whole lot of blame. But to break the cycle, to get back to that point, I didn't drink for a really long time because I wanted to break that cycle, and I didn't want my kids to. I didn't even have alcohol in the house. So about 15, 16 years old, when the boys were like, oh gosh, they're going to go to college, I got to teach them something.
Healthy habits.
I brought alcohol in the house, and I remember sitting it right on the table, and they looked at me and said, is that alcohol? And I go, it is. And we talked about why I brought it in. I'm like, I want you to understand how to drink responsibly. Now, for whatever reason, there was a period from they went to my oldest went to college, my youngest was doing his thing. I drank really heavily, really bad, and I felt like I was becoming the alcoholic also. So I stopped drinking, and I still fall into that. I have to be careful because I have the pattern, because I do enjoy a drink, and I have to know when to say when. How I believe it's broke is neither one of my boys have the desire to drink all the time. They will have a social drink.
Yes.
But they don't really have it in their house. They see it, so whether I taught them that or whether they were just like, wait, we don't want to have that, but we don't really like it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, we enjoy the flavor of it, to have a cocktail, to have conversation, to be social, but the feeling of it the next day,
you feel disgusting afterwards.
It's horrible. Yeah, so I do believe they broke that. And my oldest is married. He's been married longer than, and he jokes about it, he's been married longer than I have ever been married. And I think that's his pride. I'm going to break that cycle of divorce.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't want that. I knew what that did to me as a child. I didn't want that for my kids. When I sat down with Tori, I said, look, this is a forever thing if we're going to do it together. And, you know, we have a very healthy marriage. We really do. Like, we have spats. Everyone does. I have spats with people. I have great relationships. I have spats with best friends. But we don't argue. Like, I will flat out tell somebody when they're trying to argue with me, I don't argue at home. You're not going to get anything out of me. Like, it's a peace, right?
It is, because what's the point of arguing? I love the open dialogue.
Yes.
It's a big difference, open dialogue versus having an argument, right? Because you're not getting anywhere when you argue. There's no winner. Oh. There's no reason to win or lose. It isn't. It's about open dialogue, and you have an opinion, and I have an opinion, or whoever, and we have that conversation, and we can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Or we can look at it and go, well, dang, you're right, right? I didn't see your perspective of it.
Absolutely.
And that's huge. I'm really in my life now, especially after the weekend, of taking a hard look at that, of saying, I deserve to have X, and I will get there to have it. And there's not anybody to take my rainbow away.
No.
My sunshine away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. Like, if we just all took that outlook, like, in a marriage, right? To run it back biblically, it says the man leaves his wife to be cleaved to, or the man leaves his mother or his parents to be cleaved to his wife. To cleave in the Bible means to be cut away and to be made one. And I hate it when people, there's not a lot of things I hate in this world, but I hate when people are like, the marriage is 50-50. It is not 50-50. A marriage is, any relationship is not 50-50, because it's 50-50, everyone's in half-ass, and nobody's going to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. Right? So a marriage is 100-100, and when she gives 90, I have to give 110.
Correct.
Right? We have to pick each other up, and we complement one another. And I talk about that all the time with people. You know, it's funny, when you introduced yourself, I thought about how I get introduced, and I always put Christian, because I believe I'm one with Christ, so I put myself really first, but as a Christ follower, and then I'm a husband, and then I'm a father, and then I'm a leader. And I do that super intentionally, because to me, that's how I want to be known. I don't think anyone's going to the graveyard and wanting leader on their headstone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. And,
sure.
And
I want best nanny ever.
Yes, exactly. So you focus on the things that are important. One thing I did want to go back to, and I don't, if you had a thought there, I apologize.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
When your boys left, I know what happened, because the same thing happened to my mom when she was an empty nester. I call it an identity crisis.
Okay.
So I have a concept for a book, and I just need to sit down and write the damn thing, because I think we all go through them. I think what happens is, and that's also why I list myself that way, because you can slowly start chipping away at everything beyond dad for me, and I'm good. I'm in my identity. But even more than that, like, kids are temporary. There's that Modern Family. Have you seen that snippet where the guy's talking about his kids leaving? He says, well, you bring home this baby girl, and she's so beautiful, and before you know it, she turns into this toddler, and she's just saying the most crazy things. And then he goes through all the stages of life, and he goes, the crazy part is you don't get a chance to miss any of them because they're sitting right in front of you. But then, just in a split second, all of those kids walk out the door at the exact same time. And I hear that every time, and I'm like, I'm not even freaking deep into this thing, and, like, I get it, you know?
It breaks my heart even you saying that. Like, just the kids walk out the door. They
at the
do.
Same time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think happened for Kelly is, I've seen it happen time and time again, is your identity was not Kelly.
Right.
It was Mom.
Yeah.
Which are two completely different identities. And the crazy part that I've realized is they can be intertwined and be part of you. But the problem is the Mom Kelly is temporary.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, you're still Mom today. But everything you were doing, the packing lunches, the making sure they're tucked in at night, So then what happens is then we go through an identity crisis. I went through one in 2016 when I had a business fail. $300,000 in unsecured debt, had nothing to my name, and had some crazy personal stuff happen too. That I was suicidal. I mean, I shouldn't be here anymore. There's no reason for me. Like, what I've realized through that now, because hindsight's always 2020, is my entire identity was being that business person. Yeah, and I wanted everything that came along with it. The entrepreneur tag, everything I really have today, if I'm being honest. But because that was pulled out from underneath of me, I didn't know who I was anymore.
What brought you out of that? I'm asking you a question.
No, it's a good question. I mean, to be honest with you, family was probably most of it for me.
Yeah, I'll be very, very honest. If I had not had Kyle when I had Kyle, I don't know if I would be here. They became my purpose, which goes to the identity.
Yes.
Right? They got me out of bed. I've been through divorce. It's horrible. It's not something I would ever wish. My daughter-in-law did an interview when she was either in college or high school, and she came to me, and it was about divorce. And she said, "What's the one thing you would do?" I said, "I'd never have it. I'd fight harder."
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely the identity crisis of, and I forget where I was going with that, but I was going somewhere. They were my purpose for putting my feet on the floor. The moment that I had Kyle, he came along at the most opportune time, and then Brandon came along at the most opportune time. And now, I lived in Pennsylvania all my life. I've been here since 2019. Why did I move here? I got one in California, one here. He's having the baby for now.
I'm hanging out with him for a bit.
Yeah. I said, you got 10 years. I don't know if I'll have 10 years or not in Ohio, but either way, they are my purpose. They still are my purpose, which is really interesting because this weekend, I was all over the place with it, and I went, I have to have my own purpose. Yes. I have to set my own standards, and boy, you should see what I'm doing. It's pretty amazing. I get cold showers. I used to hit the snooze button for 30 minutes. I don't hit the snooze button. I'm up and out of bed, and I feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am now, even at my age, defining my new self. Yeah. And that's huge.
Yeah, because and that's awesome. I love to hear it, and that's really why I'm so passionate about doing that. And like I told Hunter, I've never been paid. I've run over 100 of those things, and yeah, everyone has a little bit of a different vibe and all that good stuff as far as a retreat goes. But the biggest thing for me is, like, if I can just get in there and change one person's life. I think I shared with you the story of when I showed up to a house and there was 13 people, and I called Tori with my boohoos.
I don't remember.
So when Hunter was running retreats pretty constantly for Revolt, we would have usually 20 to 30. So you had a ton in the room, and you could usually connect with you only had 5 intentional relationships, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
You could find 5 intentional relationships in the room relatively easily that were comfortable and in your lane. And I remember showing up to one. Tori and I were still dating. We might have been engaged. Either way, I called Tori, and I was like, hey, there's only 13 freaking people here. I drove all the way from Ohio to Gatlinburg. I'm irritated, pissed off, however you want to put it. And she goes, yeah, why are you complaining? Because there's only 13 people here. How do we make real impact?
But there's 13 people.
She goes, the goal's not to change 13 lives, it's change one. Let me be in my moment. Let me be in my moment.
We'll let you have it for this much. Yeah. Let's be real. We're going to let you have it because the negativity it's not healthy.
No.
I got a call on Sunday from one of the girls I work with, and I said to her, I can't do that. I can't do it. Like, I'm not going to do the negative conversation. Yep. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I said, I've let it happen. So the interesting part for me is that even when my biological dad passed away, now I'm 59 and I'm putting that out there. I'm perfectly okay with that. So it's been 49 years.
There's a lot of wisdom in there.
49 years. And I miss him every day. It's hard every day. Even when that happened, I still stayed positive. I had this choice, and I believe I said that this weekend. I had the choice. I could take I feel sorry for myself. I feel victim. I feel, why did he do this? Now, don't get me wrong. I went to the why. How could I saved him? How could I have done all that? Or I could have taken this path of saying, there's something for me in this direction. Drugs, alcohol, homelessness could be here, right? Or I'm going to take this path and fight hard and do the things. And I fought hard and did the things, right? I've always was, I don't want to say I'm a rainbow kind of girl. I love it. Like when somebody comes to me and they want to be negative, it drains me. It sucks things out of me, doesn't it?
Yes.
It really is. So I actually said to her, I get we all have to vent. We do. I'll take the vent. I'm not going to every day. I'm not going to listen to it every day. And the sun is brighter, even though it's cloudy right now.
It is.
My whole demeanor has changed. I feel healthier already. And it's just that I got back to who I was when I was 10 years old and happy and positive. And yeah, I just won't tolerate it anymore.
Well, and I think as a leader, what I've found works is like you get 5 minutes to bitch, right? You get 5 minutes, give it to me, tell me what all you got to say. And then after that 5 minutes, you better have a solution.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to come to me and you think, like I'm cool with the venting, but we need to know what we're doing from here.
Yeah.
And it's hard for a lot of people because we are so negative in this world. Like we love the mainstream media. Like we just soak it up and we love, like as a population, we just love to watch everything. And I find myself getting caught into that sometimes too. But if you don't have a solution for the problem, why is it even in your brain?
Right.
Or if it doesn't affect you directly.
Yeah. I typically don't watch the news. I can't tell you, well, I can tell you last time I watched the news now, but I couldn't tell you until Saturday when I was driving back, because Jeff got in my head and he's like, hey, do you see what's going on in the world? I said, no, I don't. And then he started talking about what was going on in the world. I'm like, darn, let me listen to the news. I couldn't tell you last time I watched the news, listened to the news. I don't do TikTok. I have no idea. People talk about it. My son sent me one. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Not that I don't want to. I just choose not to go down there because I do. Did you ever see the ad? I don't want to call them ad grabbers, but they're attention grabbers. The clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
It's negative.
It is. Always.
And people click on the negative. I'm like, I'm not clicking on that. Tell me somebody had triplets. I'm clicking on that. That's beautiful, right?
Yes.
But it's negative. I will get on Facebook because I love the communication and LinkedIn and some of the other social media. But the other stuff, I don't do. And I definitely don't click on the negative clickbait. But that's one of the highest negative clickbait headers or one of the highest clicks.
All the time.
What the heck?
If you do a side-by-side comparison of the exact same story and you make it negative versus positive, people will click on the negative over the positive because
Really
we
sad.
enjoy. I think it's honestly because we lack joy and we love to see other people's misery.
That's sad.
But it's that's
is
what it is.
100% true.
Because we're like, oh yeah, no, they're having a bad life or they're having a bad day. Let me see how my bad day doesn't feel as bad, right? And but like I tell everybody, you're having a bad day, not a bad life. Stop. Get out of your own freaking sorrows. Get out of your own way.
Get out of your own way.
Like it's not worth it. If you continue to sit there and just try to soak in all the bad in the world, guess what you're going to freaking think about? Bad.
Yeah.
And that I wanted to circle back because you talked about your two paths, your proverbial fork in the road.
Yeah.
What do you think made the difference for you as to why you chose the path of lightness instead of the path of light instead of the path of darkness?
Part of me thinks I was born that way, for real. When I was, and I'll tell you, I also think I felt like my family needed me. My mom and I are best friends. I love my mom to death. I think at one point though, if I'm fair and she's gonna watch this and has never heard me say this, I think my mom had, she was sad, right? I do think my biological dad was definitely her soulmate, and then she met my second dad, who was probably her second soulmate. But, and I think I felt like I needed to be there for them. I I saw the sadness in my brother, and whether my mom will admit it or not, I don't know. And she'll watch the like, I can't believe you're talking personal on here, but I saw the sadness in them, and I didn't want to see sadness. I didn't want to feel the sadness. I felt it because I truly feel people's emotions. So I think the reason I chose that positive path is because I saw their sadness and I wanted to make them happy. I'm not a people pleaser. I won't do that. I am an empowering, supportive. I will get you where you need to be and encourage you along the way, even if it's you're having a rough time and the road is choppy right now. I'm going to help you, guide you back that way. So I think that I truly think I was born that way. When I was in kindergarten, my very first day of kindergarten, my mom got this phone call from the school that said, you're going to have to come pick up Kelly. And she was like, well, what happened? You know, what did she do? They go, oh, there's nothing wrong. She's just too busy helping other people. So I really do. I think the world brings you down. Think about your daughter. I think about my kids, right? I think about the little ones, and I think about my grandson and how they come in the world and they're so pure and they're so happy and loved, and the world hurts that sometimes.
Absolutely.
So we have to be careful of how we guide them and direct them. My rainbow is going to keep them happy. Like Asher, he's going to be. There are times Asher has a temper. Woo! He's smart, so sometimes he can't convey, which I had with both the boys. So I get it. And one time he was in a rage, and I sat on the floor at him, and I looked at him, because, you know, their initial reaction is, what can I get it out with?
Yes.
I'm going to bang on something. And I got on my knees, and I said, I'm going to hug you and love you. I'm not going to hit you right now. Like, we're not going to hit. And I had to say it 3 times for him to kind of release that. And that's just who I am. I work with foster children also. So I think it's innate. That's who I am. That's what brought me to the path of positive.
Do you think, and that's a good snippet about the kids and stuff, just the getting down to their level and just saying, hey, I love you. You know, because we're going through that right now with a 2-year-old especially. You can't say, don't do that. That doesn't work in their head.
There's no reasoning.
Yes, they don't have logic yet, right? So it's instead show her what she can do, and it's hard because you just want, once again, back to that communication style. You want to just be able to say, "Hey, don't," but she's not understanding. We tried to really iterate that to like other people more than anything. Like my wife and I get it. Like, you know, when she hit me in the face with a block the other day, and I had to take a deep breath. Yep. I was like, if a grown man did this, what would I be doing? And I had to. I'm like, this is your child.
It wasn't intentional.
No.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
No, like she was mad.
Well, she wasn't mad. She just thought it would be funny. I don't really know what was going through her head, if I'm being honest. But she just had this little block, and she just smacked me right in. And I saw it. I could see it behind her eyes. I'm like, she's thinking about doing that. I don't think she's going to, and whack. But then I'm like, okay, we're taking the block away. We're gonna go play with something else. And then like we have dogs, and all 3 of our dogs are pretty good around her. They know their boundaries, and they know that if I need to go away, I go away, right? And we have a golden who's amazing. But sometimes she'll want to hit the. I'm like, okay, look, we're nice to the dog. But you have to convey it that way because she doesn't understand the no, right?
Yeah.
She knows how to say it. Don't get me wrong. She's very powerful with her nose, but you have to be able to actually convey it in a way that they understand, and understanding where they're at in their brain development helps with that as a parent. But yeah, it's my wife. Like my wife's a saint, and she's the only reason my daughter's as smart as she is. Like I am not. I take no credit, but I tell everybody that I am not. Like maybe there's some good genetics in there, but that's about it. You know. But I was gonna ask you. Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
That's all right.
When you were, because it sounds like to me when it happened when your dad passed away, you were trying to carry other people's burdens.
100%.
What did you notice? How did that affect you inversely? Like, how did that affect you when you were carrying those burdens for others?
I still carry burdens for people. It's who I am. It's always who I'm going to be. How does that affect me? That's when I started to realize I was getting very negative, right? And I had to retrain my whole brain back to, this is not yours to hold. let somebody else hold it, help them through it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think internally I became a lot more withdrawn, introverted. I will help you in the sidelines, in the back. I lost my voice along the way because I didn't feel like I deserved to have the voice. I did go through a period where I blamed myself. I was the daddy's girl, right? I saw it happening. Why didn't I speak up? I lost my voice in that moment sitting on those stairs, and I can still see that little girl, right? So that's what happened. I immediately went internal, but my brain started working about how can I make other people happy? I will do for them. I will serve them. I will continue to do and serve to the expense of myself.
Absolutely.
Where I lost all my voice. So yeah, that's how it affects me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Do you feel like that was? I guess that was a healthy way to mask those feelings, right?
I think because I could have, like I said, you could be violent, you could do whatever. I guess it was a healthy way to mask. I had no idea at the time. I still struggle with this. Is hard for me. Like I don't talk about myself ever. Any employee at Giddy Up will tell you they don't know anything about me. They really don't. They know nothing. Jeff probably knows the most, but they know nothing about my personal life. They know I have boys and a grandson. That's it. But so yeah, I still hold the voice in. Now when it comes to professional, I'm totally different.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's a struggle for me to today.
Where are you at in birth order? You said you have a brother. Is that the only sibling you have?
Just my brother and I am the youngest.
You're the youngest?
I am the youngest.
So you have some inverse traits to what I would normally expect out of a youngest.
100%, because I believe at 10 years old I grew up real fast.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, because was your brother there when it happened?
He was upstairs. He did not see it happen,
okay.
But we were in the same house.
Yes.
But he was up with his with our cousins actually in a room, and our stepbrothers were, and he was up there playing with them. I don't think he realized. I mean, I'm sure everybody heard the sound.
But nobody knew what it was.
No, I can still see it to today. Sure. I can vividly see it all happen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that makes, you almost kind of jumped in birth order, mm-hmm. for being honest from a psychological standpoint.
Yeah. And I know that. I know that because I do feel, he might not say that, but I do feel, maybe not now, but back then I felt like I was taken care of. This might have been all psychological. I felt like I was taking care of him and my mom at the time. Whether that is accurate or not, but I felt like it because I stood in the background and just did whatever I needed to do and be wherever I needed to be and was the person I needed them to be in that moment.
Well, and I feel what my feelings tell me is you had the most truth of the situation. Yeah. Right? As bad as it's terrible, mm-hmm. but you were the source of truth, the closest source of truth outside of, obviously, because I've talked to plenty of friends who were, like you said, I was suicidal. I would, and I'm sure you would too, to love and sit down with your dad and say, hey, look, there's so much more I don't know what you're going through, but I promise you that it gets better. We just have to work through some things. We have to put in work, but it gets better. But I think what probably happened, in my brain, the way I could see it working is you were the source of truth and they didn't have any.
Right.
They got the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you were like, I have to not only try to keep his memory alive in the most positive light possible, I have to try to rationalize this with those around me as to what happened and what I saw and, all the hard conversations that probably came along the way. And, like you said, you grew up, like that, which I 100% believe. But that makes sense, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It didn't make sense to me when I was 10 and
Absolutely
12
not.
and 14.
No.
In reality, forgiveness is a big one for me, right? I had to forgive a lot of people in my life for a lot of things that occurred, and that was one of them. I'd forgive that it felt selfish. I also understand with all the studies I've done and with all the people I've spoken to that they don't see any other path. So, you know, one of when we were at retreat, I was having a conversation with someone, and I was said, you know, you do. It's hard. There are people that think about suicide every day. There are people that think about it every week. It's what you do with that, right? And yeah, I blamed him, and then
I was just getting
didn't
ready to ask
blame
that
him.
question.
And then I blamed myself, and then I didn't blame myself. And there are still times when I played over my head, because when I tell you, I took a breath in because I saw it happening, and I couldn't say his name, right? I couldn't say Dad. I couldn't get it out. I blamed myself forever for that, a very long time. I don't blame myself anymore because things happen, and there is a for, you know, the reason it happened. But yeah, sometimes I do still look at it and go, what if I would have? What if I would have gotten that word out?
Yeah.
But it won't change anything. It is what it is at this point. So.
Yeah, it stinks because, you know, I think that everyone has a moment in their life that what if that you hang on to, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, you have to once again get out of your own way and just say it's a lesson now.
Yeah, yeah, you learn.
And you know, it's like I said, for me, looking back, I can see where someone can't see the forest before the trees. You know, when you're in, when honestly, I think for me it was a lot of just eating in negativity and self doubt and placing identity. And I did a retreat. Oh Lord, it's been 3 years ago now, and we did a breathing exercise, which is a super interesting thing. If you ever get the chance to do it, I highly recommend it. But basically, what we did is your body produces DMT naturally, which is why you have lucid dreams. It's actually what
Right.
forces lucid dreams. And we basically kind of went into a DMT state. It felt like for hours, but it was only for a few minutes. And hearing stories from guys, like just crazy things, and like for me, and you know, talk about the most emotional experience you can possibly have. But for me, I saw that version of myself, and what I found out is I wasn't angry at myself for the business failing. I was angry at myself for the wasted time when it could have been spent. At that point, I think I know three of my grandparents had passed away already, um, and I wasn't spending intentional time. So I was mad at myself for that.
For all the things you missed.
That I wasted the time trying to build something that failed,
Mm-hmm.
and I missed opportunities to have conversations that I can no longer have. I was more like looking back, I was more angry about those things, but in the moment, that's not what you look at. You look at the thing that caused it rather than
The failure.
yes, the reaction.
The failure instead of the lesson.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a lot of those moments where I can say, yeah, I failed that, but look at where I am.
Yes.
Look at the lesson I have. Look at this beautiful family I have, and the you know, it's the failure that they. And you know, I really, it really bothers me when people say they had a choice. And in all fairness, I don't know that they feel like they had a choice in that moment.
Yes.
And it bothers me that people say that people that committed suicide are weak, because they're not. They're in the moment of it, and it's their moment. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. It really, when people say that, it takes me a lot to take a breath to say, you have no idea what those people are going through. You don't know what the person down the street is going through. How do you know what they are going through? And you know, somebody that might attempt to commit suicide and they didn't go through it, that somebody might say, well, you didn't really want to. Well, are you kidding me?
Yes.
It's a very passionate thing for me, that and children, and yeah.
When you say the attempt part, um, and I don't, when I tell the story, I don't want to take any light away from your dad's situation by any means. Um, but I have a friend actually who I went to Africa with. He was the lead pastor, and he told us his suicide story that he went to his wife's prayer closet and put a Glock 19 to his head. And I don't know how much you know about guns, but Glocks don't misfire.
Right.
And he pulled the trigger on 3 separate occasions, and on all 3, they did not fire. And now, at this point, he's preached in Pakistan to which he's now banned from, to which they had over 1 million people show up for a crusade. God ended up working through him
100%.
through that moment, and our test ultimately becomes our testimony if we allow it to.
Yeah.
But we have to allow it. You know, God's grace is the only reason that I'm still here today, to be able to share stories and hear stories like yours, that then I'm able to then go and help, whether it's through a camera or through the way that I speak to now share to the world, because we all learn lessons. Like, I tell my team every year when we go to RoofCon especially, I say, hey, look, some of the speakers are just going to be not good. But I promise you there's a lesson in everything they're saying. You just have to get into the nitty-gritty to find out what that is. Maybe you're wanting to speak someday. So if you're wanting to speak someday, find out what they did that you didn't like, and then try to not do that.
Imagine the person getting up there and speaking. It could be their very first time.
You don't know the situation, you know, but you could take snippets and find a way. You know, whether the information that they're providing, sometimes it's just the information. You hear about it and okay, cool, but you learned something, right? Maybe that's how we communicate. Maybe that's, you know, because to me, when I get on stage, I'm speaking to one person in the audience. I don't care if there's 10,000 or 10.
Right.
It's just the same exact spiel. And yeah, you can be more intimate at 10, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. And you have to learn a lesson in that moment. And I think that that's just, for me, it's been the biggest thing I've learned in my life is you have to learn every day. Something.
I love learning every day.
Yes.
If you don't learn, where are you going to be if you aren't learning something every day? I could be a career college student. I love learning that much.
Yes. Yeah, and the crazier part is, like, you don't have to be the college person to go and learn.
Yeah.
You know, you came down and learned from somebody that, you know, I got a degree, but it doesn't mean anything. You know, and I hope that we were able to, but also I learned from everyone in that room. Just because I was facilitating doesn't mean that I didn't learn something from everyone. Like, I get more out of doing something like that than I feel like I bring to the table. And I'm sure everybody says differently, but I know for me, I'm learning little, whether it's a snippet about your life or a lesson on how to do something, or it could be the lesson that you spoke on for just a few minutes. Like, it doesn't matter, but you have to be open-minded to do so.
Yes. Yeah. And I came there open-minded.
Yes.
I told you, I'm like this, I don't ever do this, I'm not going to, you know. And I almost talked myself out of it. And I pushed myself out of those boundaries. And there was a reason for it, because I was telling your mom when I pulled up the very first time the very first time I pulled up here, I went, the energy here is amazing. And then I pulled up to the retreat and I went, I am in trouble here. But it was the energy, the amazing, the positive, everybody needs to have that, in my opinion. First of all, everybody needs to talk to someone. They always need to have somebody they can talk to. Your accountability part you speak to. And they have their own truth. What that truth is, they don't have to share it.
No.
But everybody should be positive. And that's I know it's not going to happen in my lifetime, but I feel like everybody needs to get back to the world of being positive, and we're not at this point.
No, my viewpoint is on that aspect in general is worry about the things that control the controllables. I can't control how the rest of the world acts, but I can control how my family acts. I can control how my team acts. I can control those things to a degree. So I'm going to control them. It's like when I talk, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a little bit political sometimes. It's just ingrained in my DNA. I have very staunch viewpoints on things, and I will have a heated debate, just like you said with your boys, where we can have an open-ended discussion. I've had plenty of people that have sat in that chair that didn't have the same exact viewpoint as me, and I learned something. Sometimes it was just that, nope, you still didn't justify it to me. That's a good counter-argument for me now. Or it was that they were able to help skew my opinion, and I hope I was able to do the same, right? But I control the controllables. I'm more worried about who's in my house than who's in the White House.
That's smart.
Stock market's not affecting me tomorrow, but I can focus on how I raise great little humans and how my wife and I can facilitate a loving relationship that then we can use as an example for other people. You know, I talk to young men all the time, and the first thing I tell them is, one, stop expecting who you're going to marry to show up tomorrow. It's not going to happen. My wife and I met in Nashville, Tennessee. I lived in Mansfield, Ohio, and she lived in Norwalk. We were there for a split second. We met. She hated me. I ended up winning her over because I'm a good salesperson. But also, too, to be right with you. If you aren't right, you'll never be right for a spouse. And 90% of divorces, I firmly believe, one or both parties is not happy with them, and that's why they cannot be happy in a marriage.
Happy with themselves.
With themselves.
Yes.
That's what I meant to say. Yes.
Correct.
Yep. If you're not happy with you, you're just bringing extra crap along the way, and you're making something that's very difficult to do anyways. Extraordinarily more difficult. And I talk to young men. I just have the ear of young men more for that typically, and I think that you as the species of women have a better grasp on that for the most part. For the most part.
Yeah.
We're just dumbasses, and I'm like, get right with you. And the same goes for when somebody's like, I don't know if I'm ready to have kids. I'm like, bro, you're never gonna be ready. It's just, I'm gonna be honest. But I tell you what, it's a whole Let me ask you this: did you feel this with your kids? Because we did. When Lainey was born, my wife had a very difficult labor, but not a difficult pregnancy. But after she was born, I remember sitting there at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I looked at my wife and I said, I remember we had a life before she was here. Because we did a lot of really cool stuff in the 3 or 4 years we were together before then. But I don't. It felt like a genuine turn of the page of the book.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, it changes. It goes back to you go skydiving before you have children. I would never go skydiving, but it's a great example. You go skydiving before you have children. I wouldn't skydive after I had a child. No. It is definitely a page turner.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
And I've tried to explain that feeling to other people. I'm like, I can't even describe to you what it's like. We still have those memories of who we were. And the other thing that drives me crazy is when people use their kids as more of an excuse than trying to, they're part of your life. They're honestly the best part of your life if you allow them to be. They have taken, two people that genuinely love each other, and you hopefully are just trying to get the best parts of you into them so they can go. That's how we make our children better. It's not with money. It's not with things. It's not with the material of the world. It's making their childhood just a little bit better than yours was.
Experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are huge. My daughter's been on a cruise already. She's been on 12 plane rides.
Yeah, Asher's almost there. He's almost there. He's been on plane rides. That's one thing I love. I couldn't do that with my kids. I just didn't have the finances to do that. I think the reason that Kyle is probably only going to ever have the one son is because he wants to have that ability to take him and financially be able to do that. Whether they have more, I don't know, but they take him everywhere. It's very rare that I get to have him. Yeah. I will get him on an overnight. One time I got him for the entire weekend, and they're like, well, we're not going. I'm like, nope, no, you committed. I'm getting him for the weekend. Yes. So yeah, it's amazing. Children are amazing. There's a difference though between I think wanting children and ever being ready.
Yes.
If you don't want to have children, don't have them just
Correct.
Because somebody else wants to have them. But yeah.
Yeah, don't put yourself in this position because that's way worse.
Yeah.
That child will be raised in a very toxic environment, and that's not healthy for the child, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. I agree with that, and I relate exactly to this. My wife and I are your son and your daughter-in-law because we want her to have relationships with her extended family, but we've also, we sat down together, and I've had conversations with all of our parents, and I said, look, we got married. This is our family now. This is our little nucleus. And everything outside of that, we get to choose. And I'm not going to beg you to be in my kid's life. You know where we live. Because it's funny. The TikTok thing that you said, you're like, oh, I don't watch those. But there are some good, triggering moments in there. And I saw one the other day that said, everybody's super excited to meet the baby until the baby's here, and then they act and it's not a negative thing. We're all busy, but we have to be intentional enough with our time to go and spend that time, mm-hmm. right? So like, I won't beg anybody. I'll flat out tell you, I'm just not going to beg you. You want to see her? You're more than welcome to. Our door is literally always open. Now, if we're going to be home or not, it's up to you.
Right.
But text us in advance, and you're more than welcome to set up a time, and we will be intentional. We'll provide dinner. But I'm not going to go, and like, we live an hour away from here. And for my mom, she's blessed that Josh and Danny, Brandon's kids, live right around the corner from her. So she's able to be a little bit more intentional with her time. And I've told her, I'm like, it's not that I don't want to bring her here, but it's much harder.
It is.
For me to drag a 2-year-old around than it is for you, who has nothing but a dog, to come up and see her. And I get it, it's not fun. I make the drive almost every day. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
It's really not. And, and you just have to be intentional about it.
Yeah, so we have been intentional. We have Sunday dinners every Sunday.
That's what you were telling me.
Yeah, and I love it. And I was surprised because Kyle was the one initiated. Like, if you know the personalities, you guys are flipped. Like, you're the oldest, right? And my Kyle's the oldest, and Brandon is the youngest, and your Brandon is the youngest. But the personalities are very flipped. Like, Kyle is the more of your brothers.
Reserved.
Yeah, he is. He's like, I'm not going to show my emotions. I'm not going to do all that. And Brandon is more of the outgoing, the doing all this. And it's funny. But he's the one that brought it up as soon as I came to Ohio. And I literally got emotional about it. I'm like, wait a minute, what? You want to have dinner every Sundays at my house? They're like, yes. And I went, oh my gosh. So it's you'll have to be intentional. Now, there are times where I go, oh my goodness, they're coming over on Sunday. I really only get Saturday because I work Friday and then I do some work Saturday. And sometimes I need a brain relax. But yeah, I need to unplug. And then they come over and we have a blast. And yeah, we are definitely in my one in California, Brandon. I told him this year, I the first year he was there, I was going every quarter to see him, flying every quarter. And I said I got away from that and I'm going to do that again this year. So you do. I don't care how far they are.
No, and it's funny because you say that. Brandon, my brother, is actually more intentional with time than I am. I don't know if it's the level of, it's a really shitty, I'm very busy and like I am super driven. So like I'll get into something and like my wife is extremely busy. She's doing 100 things too. And then on top of that, raising a baby. So like, we don't have a really slow paced life. And I'm not saying Brandon does, but he's blessed enough that Megan's able to stay home with the kids. So they're able to function a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
They have two different deals. So it's funny that you say that because when you talk about somebody that's a little bit more introverted, he's more intentional about this stuff. Like he loves Christmas gifts. I'm not a gift giver. I'm an experience giver. I want to take you somewhere and go and do that. But he got me, and he's actually probably the best gift giver I know. He got me this year a painting by Sam Ryan. It is Saint Michael protecting the lamp. And it is the most beautiful painting, and he got it for me, and I was like, shut up. I knew what it cost, too. So I was kind of irritated that he spent that much money on me, because we literally sat down and we're like, let's just start buying things for the kids. Like, we're all past the point.
Of course, there's always that one brother that does that.
It's always me, but I'm like, it's not that I don't want to be intentional and buy you guys things, but also, too, like, let's just plan a trip together and go do that and call that our Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because, like, I love a big family cruise. Like, if we can all go out, because we like cruising. We just go out and do a big family cruise. Hell, I invite the whole neighborhood. I'm like, you want to come? You want to come? I like it because if I don't like you, I can go hang out with this person.
Yeah.
There's that. But also, too, just being together and being intentional and unplugging and being off our phones together and experiencing something together. That's important to me. And I'm blessed enough that my wife's kind of in that same avenue. Like, we're really not good gift givers. We're not.
But the things are things, right?
Correct.
These are things. And that, while that means a lot to you, and you look at it, it means a lot. It is time, because time is very valuable and it's precious and it's short, and it speeds up the older you get.
Yes, and I never want my kids to come to me. It's that old story of the little boy coming up to Dad and said, "Dad, can you play with me?" He goes, "Nobody, I got to work." And he goes
later.
He comes back and he goes, "Dad, how much do you make an hour?" And he tells him, $25, and he brings him his piggy bank, and he goes, "Dad, I got $37 here. Can I have an hour and a half of your time?" I never want my kids to be like that. That to me, like, I have those little things in my life that I'm just like, in the back of my head, I'm like, don't be that dad. Like, don't get me wrong, I got home at 7:30 last night. Lainey goes to bed at 8:30, but I made sure that hour was jam-packed with fun and wrestling and just, as intentional as I can be.
That's what they need. They need the dedicated time. It's not the holding the phone in your hand and having a conversation. It's that you're right, it's very intentional.
Well, I'm reminded too, I like to reference back to like deathbed stories a lot because I'm hoping I get 99 years, God willing. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting on my deathbed and saying, man, I wish we would have spent more money here or I would have made more money here. Nobody. And I have, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, had the privilege of talking to a lot of people that were in that moment. And it was always, I wish I spent more quality time. Mm-hmm. On top of that, I don't think we're getting to heaven and God goes, well done, good and faithful servant. You made a lot of money.
Yeah, you got $8 million.
Yes.
No.
He's not. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong. I was just having this conversation yesterday. There's nothing in the Bible that says there's anything wrong with money.
Right.
But and that's where everybody gets that wrong, right? Where they're like, well, the root of all evil is money. It's not money. It's the love of money. It's idolizing money. It's turning money into your God. It's serving money.
Yeah.
I make money so I can serve others.
There's a huge difference.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
But most of us are slave to $1.
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate that that's the way our world is. And it sounds like you've raised good boys who are going to...
Yeah. I don't want my legacy to be, here's the house and here's the 401k that I have. I want it to be, do you remember when we did this with her?
Yes.
Do you remember my nanny used to let me squirt her every time I was in the bathtub and get her soaking wet? You know what I mean? Those are the things I want my legacy to be.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's it's funny you say that because my mom, I'm sure because you guys are becoming great friends, you'll get to go over to her place, and it's a beautiful house. And I remember when they bought it, she's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are gonna get a third." I looked at her and I said, "You're the only," and I've said this to my in-laws too. They're the only two people I would ever give this advice to because I know my wife and I are set. Now it's my other siblings and my wife's siblings. It's up to them. But I said, "Look, you're the only people I would tell this to. Spend it all. Don't leave me a dime. Enjoy it. You worked for it. Like, take out a reverse mortgage. Think I care? I don't need that house. I'm not going to live in that house. It's way too big for me." My wife and I are simple. We're very simple people. But I said the same thing to my in-laws because my father-in-law are our best friends. I'm blessed. I have an awesome father-in-law. I worked out with him this morning, actually. And I told him, I said, and one day he was saying that, "Oh, you're going to get that." I'm like, dude, I don't need nothing.
That's how we were raised. That's how we were raised. Think about it. Our generation was raised to leave the legacy of money so you're financially sound. It wasn't...
to plant seeds.
No, we were not raised that way.
Yeah, and it's true. But to me, I would much rather see you for anybody. I'm going to tell my kids from day one, I do not care how much I'm worth at the end of my life. I will spend it all. I will give it away. Like, my hope at this point in my life is that I can set my kids up well enough with work ethic and drive and desire to be financially sound. I've said for years, if Laney comes to me one day and goes, "Daddy, I want to work at McDonald's." Okay. You'd be the best hamburger flipper that McDonald's has ever had.
You own that McDonald's
yes.
one day.
Yeah, you work hard and you prove
you own
yourself.
That franchise.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I want my kids to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I
Well, ultimately, if you have more than one, there's one that's going to be an entrepreneur.
I'm going to be stuck with one or one that wants to take over, one of Daddy's companies or something, and I'm cool with that. But, we're at a stage in our life right now where I'm like, you also kind of want them to be their own people. Yeah. I don't want them to follow in Dad's footsteps. I did. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm happy with the decisions I made. As my dad will tell you, we've done things that he could never do because we grabbed on and, the wheels spin faster when more people are rowing. But I don't know if I want the struggle of what this is for my kid because I think you need it.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. I've seen people inside of our industry. I mean, you guys are technically in the roofing industry. I've seen people get given things, and I've seen what it got them. Mm-hmm. And almost I would say all of them failed because you have to, in order to appreciate it, you have to work for it. It'd be like if you guys came in here and you're like, "We're going to give you Giddy Up for free because we want to get marketing spent out there and we believe in you guys." we're never going to use the damn thing. It's
Right.
not going to work the way it should.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have an investment, whether that's time, energy, money. You know, like, I don't ever want my kids to be like, you have daddy's money. Like, one of Tori and I's aspiration, well, it was my aspiration that I grouped in with Tori, and I've kind of backed off of it, was to own a plane. And I said for years, my kids will fly commercial. That's mommy and daddy's plane. That's not your plane. I've kind of backed off of it because I'm looking at the logistics of it. I'm like, I don't know if I really want that. But, you know, it'd be like if Tori and I are in first class, you're in the back. You go with those, like, not that those people are bad, but you didn't earn this.
Right.
We did.
Yeah.
We worked hard. And whether it's right or wrong, like, I want my legacy, like you said, I want my legacy to be with my kids that dad taught me how to work hard. Dad taught me how to love mom. Dad taught me what it was like to you know, put his pants on every day and go to work when he didn't necessarily want to. That he did the hard things. That I can now do the hard things because he proved to me that it was possible.
Yeah. It's the story, right? What's the fish story?
Oh, yeah. Teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for life, and show a man to fish and you'll feed him for a day.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Right?
But most of us as parents don't have that mentality. You know? We just want to give, especially in today's world. Your kid doesn't need a new pair of freaking Air Jordans every year. Yeah,
so if you go way back in the beginning of our conversation, I would say that is probably one of the things that I did overcompensate for. I made sure that they had everything that they probably didn't even need.
Yes.
Because I didn't.
Yes.
All the time.
My mom was really good at that too.
Yeah, but I don't do that. I don't do that anymore. I will. I've come in. I've checked that. I don't know where along the way I did check it, but it was probably right before they went to college.
Well, unfortunately, it kind of becomes a codependency, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I can't buy it, mom will.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just...
True.
It's, you know, I've had a unhealthy relationship with money most of my life because I didn't need... So when I went to work, even though I worked 40 or 50 hours a week in high school, it was go buy all my wants. I had a truck. My insurance was paid for.
Wants and desires.
Yes. Like... I want my daughter to have nicer than my 94 Chevy 1500, but that 94 Chevy 1500 taught me a lot of lessons. And I don't think my wife will allow me to give her a beater. But
well, it's not safe anymore.
She'll work. She'll work for it regardless. Yeah. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a $20,000 vehicle in 16 years or whatever. She'll work for it. And that's something that my wife and I have both. Her parents, I'm blessed enough that they raised her with that attitude too. My wife's the hardest worker I know. She works physically harder than me most days. And we complement each other well.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
Well, you saw her work at the retreat.
I know, I did.
She slaved over that freaking stove 5 months pregnant the whole time, you know. Yeah. And it's good. Well, this has been a great conversation, Kelly.
Yeah, it has. Thank you for having me.
Was there anything we didn't talk about as we wrap up the last few minutes here that you wanted to share?
I don't think so. I think if I would wrap it up, I'd say, you know, I appreciate your having me here. I've learned a lot along the way. I continue to learn. I hope everybody continues to learn. I think that legacy is important. Set your pride aside. And I think it's just stay positive. Beautiful world.
It is. Mm-hmm. It's the world is exactly how you look at it.
It is.
And I think that's a good way to wrap this thing up. That's kind of the gist of our conversation. You know, I appreciate you for sharing some stuff that I know wasn't easy. But one thing I will say that I've told a lot of people over the years when I hear them say something, for some reason with me, I don't know what it is about me. People will share things that they don't normally share.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't have any reason or explanation. I don't try to find one. I use it as one of my gifts that God gave me. But I feel like with that gift, I also have to remind people that everyone has a story. And everyone has value to provide with the world with that story. And back to what we said earlier, getting out of your own way is the only way to actually share that story with the world to hopefully help one person. And if we can do that, the world isn't so dark. And honestly, it's super...
Bless you.
Thank you. It's super healthy.
It is. Sharing is healthy.
It's extremely healthy. I'm a big advocate for mental health awareness. And not in the literal sense of the doctors and you have to go and talk to somebody. It could be a beer in the back of a buddy's truck when you share
just
something.
taking a minute.
Yes. And I think all of us are carrying a burden that we ultimately just need to let the world know about. Whether that's in confiding in someone or in scripture and prayer. But honestly, communicating human to human because we are created in God's image is ultimately the best way I feel like to do that. So I appreciate you for sharing your story. And like I said, I know it wasn't easy to talk about that, and you haven't really communicated it with a lot of people.
No.
So I didn't want to pry.
Surprise!
I didn't want to pry, and I hope I didn't.
No, you didn't.
I was trying to gingerly tap around it to test you. I didn't want you to be in an uncomfortable position.
No, I was not uncomfortable. Thank you
Well,
for
perfect.
being aware of that.
Awesome. I try to be. Working on that self-awareness sometimes. So, well, I appreciate you, Kelly. Well, as we wrap this one up, guys, there's a lot in here. We talked a lot about parenthood, just because the stage that Kelly's at and just the stage that I'm at, there's a lot there. Also, just about handling trauma and really handling what the world throws at you, I would say. You know, God puts things in front of us to give us an opportunity to share and an opportunity to grow from. And I think that's what the conversation really was about today. So, as always, my ask is if you got something out of today, share it with somebody that needs to hear the message. If you got this far, you clearly got something out of today. So, share it with somebody that needs to hear this message because, once again, this isn't to make me money. I'm paying for it. This is a hobby we love to do. It's our car in the garage, if you will. So sharing it helps us get our message out there, helps share Kelly's message. We appreciate her for coming on. She's become a great member of the team here, really, the way we look at it. And we appreciate the relationship that we're building here. But more importantly, she's a great individual and a great human. And so as you go throughout life, just continue to ask yourself what you need to do to get better, how you can share your testimony that's ultimately come from your tests. And more importantly, find your purpose in life and keep asking yourself, what's your why?